Welcome to Intuitive Seek. My name is Mary Treen, and every week I aim to bring you a grounded approach to all things intuition. Through personal stories, experiences, and practices, offering energetic reflections to help you discover, connect, and fully realize how your unique power of intuition is your own greatest teacher. Hello! Welcome. How about we take a nice deep breath? Take a nice breath in through your nose. Bandit's taking a breath too. In through your nose. Into your belly. And let that breath out through your mouth. And take one more deep breath through your nose. Into your belly, and let that breath out through your mouth. Lovely. How are you doing? I felt really inspired to start with a deep breath. So that tells me that January was not easy. And I've heard from listeners and then also in my work and for myself too, January was really full of lessons. And I feel like so many of us were kind of taken aback by that. And that I feel like comes from the promise of the new year, where we, even though intellectually we may know, like, okay, it doesn't really make a big difference between December 31st and January 1st. It's still the same time. But because it is this holiday that is definitely more celebrated in the media in Western culture. But of course there is the, Orthodox New Year and the Persian New Year. And of course, Lunar New Year is this week. And I was talking to somebody about how it's interesting that would it have been such a hard month in learning all of these kind of lessons that we didn't really want to learn or weren't really expecting so much? Would it have been as difficult if we weren't kind of ushering in this new year, these expectations? And it's hard to say because that wasn't our reality. So we can't really say whether it would have been any different. But I do know that expectations can put a lot of unneeded pressure on our lives and what we're doing and kind of every aspect. But it's so natural to put expectations on things because what I found is we're all kind of reading each other's energy all the time. From you walk into your work and you see your coworker and you can tell right away that they're not feeling very good. Or you walk into an office and it seems fine, but you can tell, there's some tension here. Maybe there's like a fight or something, or something is going wrong with, a client of the company. Something is amiss. So I feel like when we create expectations for ourselves, it's actually almost like an unconscious way that we are reading the energy of everyone around us. And not in like a hyper-focused way that may come from if you suffer from anxiety or some kind of panic. A lot of times that can be a signal that you are having a little more anxiety than your body really needs to be holding. that can be like, okay, is everybody, what's happening? What's happening around me? Like if my outside environment is okay, then I'll be okay. Not like that. Like just truly as human beings, the way that we connect to each other is we do on a certain level always kind of read each other. What's happening? What's going on? I mean, I feel like we've done that since we were babies. You're looking into your mom, you're looking at the caregivers, and you're like, okay, what's happening? What's going on? Let me make sure that I am, really taking part in this life right now and making sure that I'll get fed and all of those things. But it's not coming from an anxious place. It's just coming from a natural place. So the reason I'm saying that is because what I've kind of found even more is that when we don't actively kind of tune in and check in with our intuition to allow ourselves to kind of translate the energy around us and the energy of others that we are dealing with, then we create expectations that aren't really bound or grounded in the reality of what is happening. It's not grounded in the present. So then this can cause like a lot of disappointment. You create a list. This happened to me in January. I had a whole list of things that I needed and wanted to do for January. And one of them is this great, really exciting new Reiki class that I'm creating for a group. And I've been doing one-on-one teaching over the last year, but now I'm created, like I really figured out a structure that will be so supportive for anyone that feels called to learn Reiki. And I was sure that I was going to be launching it in January, end of January. But every time that I went to find the date in February of like, okay, it'll be this day, and so I'll talk about it now, and, so excited about it. Bandit is excited about it too. It's like the co-host, right? Hopefully you like a little cat meow, although his is more like a squawk, so either way. But thank you for bearing with him and me. But what happened was every time that I went to finish this, which I had worked on and it was ready to go, I would kind of check in to myself and to that way that my intuition translates kind of the energy around me and the energy of the moment. And every time it was like, oh, you know what? It's not the time. Even though I really wanted it to be the time. I was like, well, this is on my list. I expected myself to do this in January. But that wasn't my present circumstances. That just wasn't going to happen if I was trusting myself. If I was really trusting how I can listen to my intuition, then I had to listen to it. And I'm so glad that I did, because now it's the first week of February, and there was so much that I thought of and that kind of changed my training in the way I was structuring it, and I had more ideas surrounding it, that I'm so excited that I didn't kind of start promoting it and talking about it in January, because it wasn't ready. There was more for me to discover out of how I can serve my students and whoever feels called to learn how to use the system and healing modality of universal energy. So now I feel, and maybe this will change, but now I'm ready to start talking about it next week, and it's going to be in March. And the dates are still to be determined, because I have 2 people that are really wanting to take it. So I want to make sure that those dates work for them. And then I'll open it up to the bigger group. We're going to be doing groups of 8 for the trainings. That's going to be level 1 and level 2 together. But it's actually going to be not just 1 and 2 days and then that's it. It's going to be a 4-week experience where you will have the support and all the resources that I wish I had when I started. So I'm very excited about that. And yes, just stay tuned if you're interested. You can also join my Dreamlight letter to get more information on it about when the doors really open for you to sign up. And I will be offering a lovely discount for the listeners of Intuitive Seek as well. So you can go to the show notes and just sign up for the waitlist so you can find out more information there. I will also be offering intuitive Reiki classes and trainings and certificates. If you have already done your level 2, or when you do level 2 with me, then you are able to get into the intuitive Reiki. And I'll be doing a Reiki Masters beautiful new structure that I've created for getting that level 3 Reiki Masters and Masters teacher training. And that will be more into end of spring, early summer. So I'll keep everybody updated on that. But I really wanted to use that as an example because I can see so obviously how listening to my intuition, reading my own energy, helped me in such a huge way to really trust and listen to the timing of these Reiki courses that I'll be teaching. So kind of a small example, but I really hope that you can see kind of a reflection of that in your life. And maybe when you didn't listen in January and you are kind of seeing that now of, oh, yeah, I really should have listened to myself and not just the noise of expecting the new year to bring. And that brings us to February or February. I tend to say both, so I hope that's okay to your ears. But yeah, so with February, the energy of February, the impressions I really gained when I tuned in to my intuition and really asked my own energy to translate to me what the energy around us and around me feels like. And how understanding this can really help us to navigate the month and navigate everything that we are trying to do and want to do or continue to do. So I'm going to share kind of what I really felt into, the impression that I received, but also I'm going to be offering some questions. And these aren't necessarily meant for you to, stop the podcast and carve out some time to sit down and get your journal out or some paper and write down your answers to these questions, which you can completely do, but it's not really necessary. What I really felt for this month was to make sure that you are tuning into your own impression of the energy that you're feeling. That it's really about our individual kind of take on how we can utilize the energy of this month to our highest advantage. But the questions that I'm going to ask, you can kind of just hear them. You can hear them and just allow yourself to answer them in your head, or allow yourself to feel where you feel it in your body. And then maybe the question will kind of pop up in your mind in a few days. And you'll say to yourself, oh, okay, maybe this is the time that I meant to really answer this. But I felt quite strongly that it's important for all of us to kind of start to understand how to read our own energy consciously, so that we're not just reacting to these unexpressed expectations that can come when we're listening to somebody else more than ourselves. So this month, this February, I really felt like it's going to be, and it already has been for me, a real mirror. The metaphor of what is being reflected back to us. After all the upheaval, the uncertainty, all the change that we've been through over the past month, and also over the past 2 years. Maybe now, what is being reflected back to us when we really look? Maybe it's telling us that it's time to integrate all of the deep change. And that now, more than ever, we may have this true call, this true initiative to really start the personal changes that we have control over, the choices that we can make, that we can take action on. And I love that I felt that because it makes a lot of sense to me, especially with the mirrored numbers in this month. And I feel like it's such a beautiful kind of signal to us to really take a close look at ourselves in the reflections that are being reflected back to us, and also what we're reflecting out. Like how are our actions affecting others around us? And in February we have, like this week was Lunar New Year, and we had February 2nd, 2022, or in the Northern Hemisphere at least. And then we also have February 22nd. We have the second month of the 22nd day in 2022. And it's funny because, my partner is not someone to really point these things out, these kind of fun synchronicities, especially in repeating numbers. There's something really beautiful that we see. Some people call them angel numbers. I don't really like to put a word on them because I feel like, just as I was saying with reflections, it's whatever you feel at the time. Because if you're present in the moment, everything around you is always kind of like helping you to a certain extent. If you keep your eyes open enough, and your heart open enough, and your intuition open enough. But I love that my partner even pointed it out, because he isn't usually into, that kind of stuff. So that shows me that this is pretty important. Not because he said so, but because someone who is not even really paying attention to dates thought, oh wow, that's really cool. It's like the only time in our life, in the world's lifetime, on our calendar, that will happen. It's neat. And I like that because it kind of deepens that idea, that energy of reflecting, looking deeper into who we are and how we affect others around us. Us and somebody else. It kind of reminds us that we're all connected, if you think in a more kind of poetic way. That many twos. I mean, you need two things to kind of create something else most of the time. To create a baby, to create fire, to create something that wasn't there before. You tend to need two. It takes two. So there's something really beautiful about this month that's reminding us that it's not just about us. And maybe that's reminding you that it's not just you that has to do everything. Remember that most likely you have a lot of people, or at least one or two, that want to help you, and whatever that means to you. Because I know that it's very easy to forget to reach out for help, or forget to delegate, or think that it takes only one, and a really strong one, and all the will of one. When the path of ease is really with at least two. At least. So to help you kind of allow yourself to understand where you may need some extra help, or to really know what you were feeling about the energy this month, what your impression is, here are some, I suppose they'd be kind of intuitive questions for you to use to have a kind of ponder on, or if you listen to last episode, to meditate on, to ponder on. But you can also journal with them. But really, the idea behind them, like I said earlier, is for you to kind of feel them and to see what comes up from these questions that I ask. So the first one for February will be, what are you not willing to do anymore? What are you not willing to do anymore? And then to further that, what do you wish you had more will to do? So what do you wish you had more will to do? And those came as kind of mirror questions. And I love them because if you think about it, if you do finally stop doing something that you're not willing to do anymore, it takes too much energy and not enough is reciprocated back, and you have the choice to do it or not, even though the choice not to do it might not be so favorable. If you finally stop the thing that you're not willing to do anymore, then you may be opening up some nice space to actually do the thing that you wish you had more will to do, whatever that means to you. And then what I felt would really help you for this month is to really think about, has there been someone that has been really annoying to you, that you've had a reaction to, where you really feel like, I don't know why this person is annoying me so much? And think about that. And I'm sure if it is resonating with you, you probably have the person in your head right now. And with this question, I really feel like it's trying to mirror and reflect and show that there is a part of you that wants to be seen, that you find annoying in somebody else, but it might actually be a part that needs to be expressed in you. Because often, what I've seen and found for myself is that when we aren't taking time to tune into our intuition, to our authentic selves, then it will still want us to pay attention to something, our energy, our intuition, but it'll be expressed in a different way. So sometimes physical pain, and sometimes being really aggravated or annoyed by someone. So really reflecting back to yourself is always a great way to come back to yourself. And then the last thing that I'll leave you with is this question. This last intuitive question that I felt will really help all of us to manage and work through and navigate all the words to really make sure that we get the most out of this month for ourselves. So the last intuitive question I have for you for you to ponder, to feel into, to answer in your head or later in your journal, is to think back to February of 2020, 2 years ago. And instead of going fast forwarding through all of the insanity that a lot of us in the world has been through, stay in February 2020. And then think of yourself today in 2022. And now think, what is one thing, or two things, or three things, but what have you learned about yourself that you did not know then at all? What wisdom have you learned and today maybe take it as just normal or defaults, or that's just how it is? What have you learned about yourself that you didn't know then? And really feel into that. So often we forget to celebrate or even acknowledge the huge strides in growth and change in good ways that we have experienced and been through and done. So I hope you can take a moment and reflect back and celebrate yourself. Because you wouldn't be where you are now without that past person that you were then. So it's important to acknowledge how much you've grown and how much you are really, really capable of. And then maybe that will really help you to release the thing that you're not willing to do anymore. And then that will make space for you to actually do the thing that you wish you had more will to do. And maybe you just didn't have any extra energy to do the thing. But now, this month, it may be time to finally free up all of that energy so that you actually can. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Intuitive Seek. I'd love to hear if you resonated with the energy that I'm feeling and moving through for February. If you answered those questions, if you like to journal about them, if they brought anything up, I would love to hear. So please don't hesitate to send me a message through my website, treenlight.com, TREENLIGHT, or through my Instagram. You can follow me at Treenlight and connect with me there for sure. I will have all the links in the show notes for you to sign up for my Reiki training and certification waitlist starting in March. And make sure you sign up for the waitlist if you're interested in receiving the discount for my Intuitive Seek listeners. Thank you. Thank you for being my listeners. And you can also go to the show notes to join my monthly Treenlight letters and so many more things. So thank you so much for all of your support. Be kind to yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.